Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not so new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. Very happy to have singer-songwriter Norine Braun with us. She's an award-winning artist. I'm not going to run down the whole list, but here's just a few, like greatest hits. 2018 Western Canadian Music Award nominee, Canada Council for the Arts Award, Los Angeles Music Awards Artist for Literacy. You can check out more at NorineBraun.com. I don't want to take up the whole podcast talking about your awards. Let everybody meet you and see just how amazing you are. Hi, Norine. Thanks for joining
I
us.
can. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Now, last year you released December Falls, which was your 12th full-length album. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
Wow. 12 albums and some great reviews. The Vancouver Sun says December Falls is one of the new seasonal releases worth putting under your tree. That had to be nice.
Yeah, that was really flattering and an honor. I think one of the other artists was Anne Murray, so I was in great company.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You had 11 albums before this. And what led you to decide to make a Christmas record after all that time?
Well, it was during the pandemic, the start of the pandemic, and I was really fortunate to receive a grant from Showcase BC. It's in our province for artists to do some writing, and so I just thought I love Christmas. My mother, who loved Christmas, unfortunately, my mom passed away this year, but she always wanted me to do a proper album. So I was so grateful that I could do that while mom was still here. So it was just trying to think about positivity. I think because we were going through such a hard time, everybody on the planet. I just wanted to think about a time which, Christmas is usually a time of sharing and joy. And that was sort of how I wanted to focus writing. And then in the summer, I wanted to record and have some of the musicians who I knew weren't working come in and do something positive during the summer to release last winter.
And one of the things that I really loved about December Falls is the variety of music, and the original songs that are on there are all kind of like the themes of them are things that that aren't done a lot in Christmas songs.
Right.
And I thought this is terrific because it's really something fresh and new. I don't want to go track by track because people should go check out the album if they haven't already. So, but there are a handful of them that I'd like to ask you about. And if you can tell me anything about them, what inspired the song, or if there's a story behind it or that kind of thing. Is that okay?
Sure. Sounds good. Thank you, Ken.
All right, sure. Let's start with Poinsettia Pearl.
Yeah. It was exactly actually what you were just saying. Not a lot of people ever wrote about poinsettias, and I was wondering, I wondered to myself, where do they come from and why are they so popular in North America? Whenever you go at Christmas, everybody has a poinsettia, you give poinsettias. And so I wanted to look into the history of how they came to be. And so I kind of turned it into contemporary person. But so I followed the trail and where poinsettia came, how it happened to become a North American tradition at Christmas. And it was a story about a Mexican girl and how she had she was going to church and she wanted to make an offering to God, to Jesus. And all she had was weeds. And her cousin told her, and she was like, "Oh, this isn't enough." And her cousin said, "No, it doesn't matter how much. It just matters that it comes from the heart. So it's enough." And became a star of Bethlehem, I think. And then that's how the poinsettia got its name. So that's how it came to be. And then in the early 1800s, there was a Mexican, U.S. diplomat who went to Mexico and started to bringing them up to the States. And then I guess they traveled even further up to Canada. So yeah, it was just the story of poinsettia. And I was really curious to know how it came to be. And so made it into a sort of a rock song, rock and roll Christmas tune.
I, I was about to say that it's kind of echoes of the story of the Little Drummer Boy, but I think it's really the other way around because the Little Drummer Boy came out, I don't know, 60, 70 years ago, maybe.
Oh,
And
okay.
this story predates that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Wow.
Way back. Yeah.
Um, Another song just a few days before Christmas is the solstice, and
Right.
you have solstice the day the sun stands still. Was there anything in particular that led you to want to do a solstice song?
Yeah, I was just again. There haven't been a lot of songs about solstice, and I have I'm Métis. I have an Indigenous his background ancestry, and so I kind of wanted to honor that part of the winter because winter has always been a time of storytelling, of coming together, of sharing. And but when I was looking through songs of solstice, they tended to be more kind of morose and kind of sad because winter is also a time of clearing and of letting go. So I wanted to do something more about the joyful side of winter solstice, which is the coming together and the celebration of long nights and storytelling and all the fun things about winter. So yeah, so that's I was trying to get something joyful and upbeat for winter solstice and marking it as it, you know, so it kind of predates Christmas. Solstice is sort of like the first winter holiday that that humanity ever had. So yeah, so that's really where I went with that one.
Mistletoe Blues, and I got to tell you, I love the blues,
Oh,
and that you've got Huggy Bear Leonard helping you out there on the blues harp
yeah.
is very cool. There are some songs about mistletoe, but not about the blues side of it.
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who didn't have someone to kiss under a mistletoe some parts of my life. So I think most people can relate to that. Wanting that someone and they're not there. And then certainly in that song, I sort of took the not the lack of connection with the partner that I was meeting in the under the mistletoe. Yeah, so mistletoe is definitely, I think, something I wanted to go for the sad side of the blues. So it definitely suits a blues feeling.
How about the title track, December Falls?
Yeah, that's a sad one. And that's a song about regret, great regret. And I think a lot of the time, I know that Christmas isn't always a happy time for people, and sometimes, it's a time when people need to reach out for help. And I think a lot of times those feelings are about regret and loss, and not connecting and wishing that we could go back. And so that I was sort of trying to tap into those feelings, sort of to counter. I mean, there's a lot of joy on the album, and I wanted to have a whole wide range of emotions. And certainly that side is more melancholy and more haunting, sad tune. But it's that part that some of us have about wishing we could change things, but we know we can't. Yeah.
And then the folks at Vinyl Chapters said that Put a Wreath on It was one of the best compositions on the record. What's the story behind Put a Wreath on It?
Again, that's a blues tune, blues rock, and we went for a total roots blues rock feel with the band. And that story again, it's sort of similar to December Falls in that it's wishing that you could get back that love that you lost and hoping, although there's sort of an angst and an anger to it. It's like, please come back, but uh, I'm still here. If you come, I'll be waiting here. It's Christmas Eve. Come back to me. So it's that longing and yearning for the happier times. And so there's lots of, the imagery is all about, a time before that was much happier, and wishing it would come back. And certainly Huggy Bear Leonard and Adam Popowitz, they really put their heart and soul into their guitar and the harmonica, and Elliot Polsky. So really, it's a real jam song for sure. I mean, when we play that song, we played it a few times, and we could probably play it for 20 minutes. It's like, let's just keep following.
I feel like I should say here, a lot of these songs are blues songs, are certainly blues influenced, and you're
Yeah.
talking about this theme or that theme being sad, but it's not a sad album. It's very hopeful.
No.
And the
Yeah.
blues are not necessarily sad, but there's a lot of emotion in them. And
Yeah.
and and I think it's a very hopeful album, which
Oh,
is
thank you.
You're welcome. And it's funny. It's funny that I say that and come to this next track, which doesn't sound like it's it's hopeful in the title, "The Winter After Elvis Died,"
Right.
which is probably the most surprising title on the album.
Yes. And that was my spouse wrote that. She wrote it for me for not Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day gift, the year that I recorded that. And when you're with someone a long time, we've been together 34 years. And when you're with someone a long time, they tend to know all your stories. And so that's one of my stories. So it's actually my life story, but she's writing about it. So when I was 16, I had pneumonia, and I was a huge, huge lover of Elvis Presley. I loved all things Elvis. I still do. He totally influenced me. And it was about a time when I got really sick and I almost died. And so anyway, she surprised me. And she wrote the song, "The Winter After Elvis Died." And the reason she called it that was because she goes, whenever you tell that story, you always start out with "It was the winter after Elvis died." So there you go. But it is definitely very unique. Yeah. And Alice plays the piano on that tune as well. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's definitely, I thought when I first saw it last year, I thought, okay, I must have read that wrong. Wait, what did that say? It's very unexpected.
Yes.
Now, in and among all these songs that we have mentioned, all these original works, there are your takes on "Silent Night" and "I Saw Three Ships" and "O Tannenbaum," which are very traditional Christmas songs. I'm trying to think of how to ask this and not sound like an idiot, but when you put together a blues rock Christmas album and you're doing all these originals, how did you pick those three songs?
They're just songs that I really like singing every year at Christmas time. So, and I think like "Silent Night," that's a song that I think most people can really relate to, even if they're not religious. I think there's a beauty to it that everyone longs for, that peacefulness and that wonder of life. And so, yeah, so that's why I just thought, well, these are songs I like. These are songs that I'm pretty sure most people like who celebrate Christmas. So why not record them? And then, of course, Adam helped me, turn them into more of a roots rock feel than they're quite different versions of those songs for sure. But yeah, that's same with Blue Christmas. That's a standard Elvis tune that I just totally, totally loved.
And that's actually what I was going to ask you next. You have these classic Christmas songs that I just mentioned and all of these originals. And then there's a couple pop covers like "Blue Christmas" and "Last Christmas."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love George Michael's as well. I just loved his voice, and yeah, so sad that he was taken so soon. But those are, when Christmas comes, I always like, oh, we get to hear "Last Christmas." I always look forward to hearing that on the radio. So I thought, oh, I should do it. I do it a lot faster than he did it and a lot more rootsier. But yeah, it's sort of a tip of the hat to George Michael's and Elvis. Those are my favorite tunes that I always liked hearing every year. So, and I think I probably always will.
I had mentioned "Blue Christmas" and "Last Christmas" and the classic Christmas songs, the ones that everybody knows, mixed in with these others. And it's not like they stick out. It all works together. It all blends together. Every song on the album sounds like it belongs there. It's not like you're going from one track to the next and then there's "Silent Night" that is sticking out because of the stereotypical reaction that people think of, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but of "Silent Night," like you were saying. It's not the Silent Night that you're used to, but it fits in with the rest of the songs on the album. I feel like I'm just digging a hole deeper and deeper because
I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
We went for that. It's sort of a consistency, so that if you liked one song, we're hoping that you'll like that the next song won't be jarring. So we tried to go for that flow and to make it as like that they're all related. So I'm glad that that's how you're perceiving it and that's how you experience it, because that was certainly our intention, was to have everyone who's listening to that it makes sense and nothing feels out of place.
Yeah, because I feel like, at least for most of the songs, whether they're familiar or not, you get kind of a dual feeling to them. You get a feeling that you know them, and you get a feeling that there's something fresh and new that you haven't heard before. And that's true whether it's "Put a Wreath on It" or whether it's "Last Christmas." You get both of those feelings. I don't know if that's just serendipity or if that's kind of what you're going for.
Well, definitely, I would say Adam Popowitz is who produced the album. He knows how to make everything cohesive. So those are things that are definitely thought out beforehand. So yeah, we are going for that sense of cohesiveness for sure. And I owe a lot of that to Adam Popowitz for making it flow like that. So it is intentional. Yeah. Because I don't know if you're like me, but when I get an album, I sort of want things like there could be variety, but I still want it to have like a flow. So I don't want to be totally, I don't want some hearing polka if I put on I don't know, some classical piece. Be like,
yeah.
what?
especially if it's a Christmas album, you want it to feel like it all goes together.
Yeah, yeah. So that it flows. People, because quite often at Christmas we put on an album and we, if we're at a party or if we have a gathering or something, you want it to all fit together, I think. Just like you put something on and you walk it away and you let everything unfold as it should, kind of. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I was hoping. Yeah.
You hit play and then you start untangling the Christmas lights or doing whatever it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
So December Falls is the album, and that came out last year. And just recently, you have a new Christmas EP that just came out.
Yeah, I decided that I was going to strip things down and just like have a total basic Norine Braun vocals, guitar, and there's like, of course, some of the soloists, Brent Ma and Huggy Bear, make a little appearance. But I just to for people who like my music, just to hear things stripped way down. To hear how those songs sound without the fuller productions. I thought that'd be kind of interesting. I know that there's a lot of people like acoustic, I've noticed that a lot of acoustic playlists coming up. So I thought I would make something that would tailor it to those kinds of fittings, I guess. So yeah, so if you like to hear things stripped right down to the most basic part of the music, you can, I think you'll enjoy the EP. I only put 4 songs on, Blue Christmas, Silent Night, Solstice, and Put a Wreath on It. So those are the 4 that are right down to its basics. So they are actually the same vocals and it's all the same, but Adam reworked it as an acoustic piece. So yeah, so I didn't redo them. They are actually from the original recording, but they're in a more stripped down. That's why we call it stripped down.
Is the EP, is it just stripped down or is it stripped down acoustic?
I'm calling it acoustic, stripped down acoustic. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the new EP, and
That's the album. EP.
And the album is December Falls. And forgive me for asking, but I ask just about everybody who does Christmas music. Even though you have all this out, is there more to come? Do you have something on the horizon of maybe another Christmas album or single or that kind of thing?
Nothing in the works at the moment, but I think there's tons of Christmas music and that I didn't do that I wouldn't mind doing. Yeah. So anything's possible. Yeah. I mean, the Hark the Herald Angels sing Alice, and I do that one. And we have a really nice, Alice plays this harp effect on the keys. It sounds really cool. So yeah, there's definitely, but like I say, nothing's in the works right now.
Was there anything that you wanted to, besides what you just mentioned, was there anything that you wanted to put on December Falls that for whatever reason you weren't able to get it just yet, but maybe it's in the back of your head for someday?
Well, some song like "Oh Holy Night," I really love that. But that's actually a really challenging song, at least for me to sing. You've got to, I think, be a real belter when it goes to the really impactful emotional places. So yeah, that would be something that I would like to do, but that would require me to really work on it for a longer time than what I had last summer. So those 2, Hark the Herald Angels, Oh Holy Night. And then some of them, I thought it would be fun to do like Jingle Bell Rock, some of those old classic 50s, but with an updated sound. So there you go. Maybe next year or the year after. There's always, there's no shortage of Christmas music. So
that's I can
as you know,
attest to that. Yes, absolutely.
Sounds of Christmas year round. So
that's right.
There's a lot of music out there.
A couple questions, non-Christmas music related. Last month in November, you put together a new video for There's a Long, Long Trail of Winding, a song that you recorded 10, 12 years ago, I think. as you're leading up to the Christmas EP release, what sort of led you to do that?
It was just it just sort of popped into my mind. Really, was to honor veterans from the First and Second World War. I released it here in Canada. We have Remembrance Day like you do on November 11th, but we also have November 8th, which is National Indigenous Veterans Day, which is honoring the First Nations people, Métis and Inuit, who served in those wars, who weren't always acknowledged. So I wanted to release it on that day, and just as a time to remember peace, but to also remember people who sacrificed their lives, and so that we can live how we do, is really what motivated me to do that. And now I think I recorded that in 2007, so it's been quite a while. But it actually started. I've been getting a lot of play suddenly on Spotify with that. So. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I thought it seemed fitting to make a little video for that song. Remembering, and it was two fellows from Yale in 1913 who wrote that tune. So that tune's like 107 years and old. Stoddard King, I think, and Zoe Elliott were the songwriter, lyricist, and composer. And so it's really, I think it's a really great song. The imagery still stands the test of time. Is same with the melody. And apparently in the First World War, when the song was popular, it was the chorus that everybody sang, and they sang it really raucously, and really happily and really boisterous. But I kind of went for the melancholy with the harmonica sound, so I kind of took it down a bit. But it is such a, I could say, you can, when you hear the lyric and the music and the lyrics, not necessarily how I did it, but you can see why it was so catchy at the time, and it really kind of struck a nerve. There's a long, long trail of winding. So, again, people going off to war who may never return and who didn't return. But that idea that maybe they will return one day.
It's a wonderful video. And everybody listening, you should go to Norine's YouTube channel. And if you can take a break from Christmas music, I'll write you a note just for a few minutes. You should really check that out.
Oh, I just want to say I got the images from the Preminger archives, which give public domain, and that was actually shot in the 1920s in Mount Rainier, which isn't far from here. It's in Olympic, near in the Washington State area. I'm up in Vancouver, BC, so it's not far from where I live. But it's amazing footage, and you can get all sorts of amazing things there. So if anyone's doing any kind of a vintage video, Preminger archives, it's where to go. Yeah.
I don't know if it's really 180 degrees from that, but much different is your most recent non-Christmas single, 2020 Reprise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a co-write. Again, the pandemic brought me together with some other musicians. A fellow named Alan Luke, who lives in Australia. He sent me some chord progressions and said, oh, if you're needing any kind of inspiration, here's some, see what you can come up with. And so I sat down and I liked the progressions, and I came up with a melody, and I wrote a little song around it, sent it back to him. In the meantime, he'd written a song with a fellow in New York City, and he actually ended up merging the two songs. So we released it as an acoustic track, and then I really wanted to take my part of the song and make it into a rock song, because the way it was really much reprised this year. It was the same as last year. So I know but the 2020 was sort of just the feelings when I initially wrote it. It was just the first couple of months when everybody was just going, what's happening? What's going on? We're in this whole new zone that we've never been before. And so I was kind of tapping into that, sort of as marking the past couple of years that we've all gone through, and hoping that we're on to better days soon.
And speaking of better days soon, what's on your agenda coming up? You have Christmas shows on the way. You have new music coming out.
I was really fortunate this year I received a Canada Council grant to write a new album. It's called Songs for Trees. And I also received a grant from First Peoples Cultural Council in BC here to create this new album. It comes out on Earth Day. It's sort of a tribute to the lungs of the planet, the trees. It's a joyful album, but it gives us, I hope, pause for reflection on how to take better care of the planet and how to save our ancient trees. People, I think, don't realize that ancient trees take thousands of years to grow it. They're not sustainable. We can't cut them down and grow them in 2 years. It takes like 2,000 years to grow these trees. So I'm just hoping I can be part of and influence people to think about like how we are taking care of the lungs. If we need these trees so that we can all breathe and survive, and children and children's children can go on. So I'm paying homage to trees, and yeah, so it's been really fun. I just finished recording actually this weekend. I'm going to be picking up the masters, and I'll be releasing singles starting in January, and then Earth Day will be the album release. So you'll have to stay tuned, come to my website, and I'm excited about it. I think people are going to like it. Again, it's actually and it's not a bluesy roots. It's more of a groove oriented album. So it's a little different than December Falls. But I think if you like December Falls, you'll probably like this album. The intention is to take you on a journey. So we have lots of nature sounds. So you come with me for a walk in the forest, and I'm going to show you all this beauty. That's my hope.
Very cool. Is your website the best way for people to connect and kind of keep track of what you're doing?
Definitely. Yeah. NorineBraun.com, NorineBraun. And as well, I'm also on like Facebook, and Norine Braun Music is my Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. I am on Twitter, but not a whole lot. So I don't quite get Twitter, but Facebook I get, Instagram. I'm on YouTube, of course. I've got tons of videos on YouTube.
Yeah, the videos, again, the video, it's really powerful. There's a long trail of winding. You should definitely check that out. But there's lots more there. There's performances and behind the scenes stuff, and lots of music. So you should definitely check that out too. Just to backtrack to the Christmas stuff again, is there anything that you want people to know about the EP or December Falls that we didn't get into?
Not that I could think of. Let's see. It was number 5 for the top 50 Canadian albums last Christmas. So
wow, that's great.
Roots Radio. So it got picked up. A lot of national shows picked up Mistletoe Blues and put a wreath on it, and it was on a syndicated show that got a lot of coverage in the States and on internet radio. So it did really well. So I hope people, if they like it, they come and download it for their Christmas season and year round on Sounds for Christmas.
Yeah. December Falls and Down Acoustic are both out there on all the usual suspects, wherever you listen and buy music, Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, etc. I'm sure you can also find out more about it at Norine's website, NorineBraun.com. You also have a newsletter, and people get a free song when they sign up.
Yeah, it's December Falls is the free track. So there you go. Sign up and December Falls is yours.
Very nice.
For free. Yeah.
Norine,
Who says there's nothing free in the world anywhere?
Right. A nice Christmas present for everybody listening. That's terrific. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Norine. Thanks so much for giving us some time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here. Thank you for sharing your time with me.
And thank you for listening, helping us share some Christmas spirit, and for helping this podcast continue to grow. Since you're listening now, you've obviously found us somewhere. But if there's another site you like to use for podcasts, check out our podcast page on our website for the complete list of everywhere you can listen to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. And again, the website is www.soundsofchristmas.com. Then just click on the podcast tab. For the Sounds of Christmas station, to listen to the music, you'll need to stick with our website or our app in the Google Play Store. If you have comments or suggestions, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through our website. Thanks again. And may you always believe in Santa Claus.